Pick is where this first one takes place. Be me, 23. Friend comes on down to Texas from Iowa, for Christmas. Don't wanna pay ridiculous range prices when my family owns a sizable piece of land, so we take the guns out in a pasture. Driven into town, sun goes down, lose light. Fuck it, still gonna shoot some shit, bro. There ain't any cows out there anyways. Get out of pickup and walk up to gate. Motherfucker is padlocked. What the fuck? JPG. Family never padlocked the gate until my great-grandmother's house burned down a few months prior. Grandfather had been living there with his girlfriend slash ex-wife slash whatever the fuck they were till it burned, then she went to nursing home when he died. Look at friend, shrug, head to back seat of truck to kit up. Pull on LBEs, I load 870, he loads AR and we both holster pistols. Open a section of barbed wire, just step on one and lift the one above it, not hard, and both climb through. Hey man, is this legal? Just because I don't have a key doesn't mean I'm not allowed to be here. Both start up dirt road, past the house, when we hear something fall over inside and insta-freeze, turn towards it shouldering guns. Gotta be fucking kidding me. Keep heading down the road after a few minutes, talking about the place and giving him basic history lesson. Top of Spy Mountain, it was dark as fuck, but the stars and moon gave us enough light to find a small berm we could blast on. 15 minutes of death, destruction and cactus killing later, we were on the way back, bullshitting and laughing. Get up to house again. More clattering. Fuck that shit. There's some motherfucker in my grandmother's old house. Signal to buddy to get to the truck and rearm while I watch. He comes back 3 minutes later with 4 more mags and 2012 gauge shells, buck and ball. Reload and rack a shell in, tube on my 870 holds 6, put the rest in rig. Both start moving towards the house, he takes front door, I go round and take back. Light is gone, and we can't see each other, but he knows basic layout of house, so I trust him not to shoot my ass and he trusts me in kind. He's waiting for me at the front. I get into position. I'm at low ready with my hand on the doorknob when I hear another crash from inside towards the middle of the house. He yells out go 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 go. Yank screen door off hinges and kick back deadbolt. Adrenaline pumping like a motherfucker when the burned frame crunches and I storm in. Not a goddamn thing in the kitchen when I pulse my light. Both of us yell, clear. He moves into front bedroom, I move into middle room. Fucking nothing. Clear. Stop and flip my light on into bathroom where friend appears seconds later. Clear. All clear. That moment, start hearing piano playing on the south porch, no door, only screen. I move low and quiet to the door and he stacks up behind me. Feel hands squeeze my shoulder. Yank open door and move inside. Piano immediately stops. We both sweep the inside of that room, no holes in the screen, no windows open, no way to get out. Piano was burnt out and the keys were still covered in soot and months of dust. Both of us look at each other and immediately nope. Close door behind us and move into the living room when bookshelf smashes all over the floor and human-like shadow moves across my FOV. Get 3 rounds off before buddy moves ahead. Fuck this shit. His light pops on and shines through doorway and he yells louder than I had ever heard him before, ripping off half a mag through the doorway. Comes back, grabs me and hauls my ass out the back door while I watch his 6. Both get outside and jog to the pickup. He's sweeping his light around the brush and I'm checking the house. Almost to the fence when I see silhouette in window, only other thing I see are red eyes. Fuck my life. 3 more rounds into the window. By now, buddy's at the fence holding it so I can get through. Fast as possible book it for pickup. He's halfway back before he turns around and puts another 2 rounds into the front window. Jumps in, starts truck, and starts backing away. In headlights, we both see something / someone all brown, like an old picture, step out onto the front porch, and wave at us. Get us the fuck out of here. Talk to my brother, 2 years younger than me, a month or so later about spooky shit in that place, kinda half joking, but he told me about when he was 6 or so, he stayed the night with great-grandma TJ. He said that while he was there, he saw a man he didn't recognize in an old brown suit with a brown trilby hat that had red eyes and was playing the piano. Said he never saw that man at that house again, but every couple of months, he would see him in his bedroom doorway just smiling and watching him with those red eyes. Never said anything to us about it because he knew we wouldn't believe him. Besides, it had stopped when he turned 17. We were a military family. Moved all over the goddamn country, and that thing followed him from 6 to 17? That would have been 3 moves. North Carolina, to Ohio, to Chicago, then to Iowa. To this day, my friend won't talk about what we saw, and I never told my brother. It couldn't have been an old relative. They were all cattlemen that weren't really all that big on dressing up like that. No idea what it was. No idea what it does. Hope I never see it again. Okay, next spooky story I've got. My mom's mother lives about 90 miles west of Chicago. Last time I was up there was for my grandfather's funeral, about 3 years ago. There was always something off about that house. Fucking noises and groans and creaks and shit, but I knew there was more to it than just being an old house. See, on that side of the family, there's kind of a legend. When someone's about to die, their grandparent will come visit them and tell them to get ready. In short, I didn't believe that bullshit. One night, when my granddad was still alive, I went downstairs because I could hear him talking in the kitchen. Figured he was on the phone, but then again, that old man? On the phone? In the middle of the night? Got down to the kitchen doorway and the lights were off. I could see his silhouette, but only heard one part of the conversation. He was talking to someone. I flipped the light on and asked him what was up. His head kinda drooped forwards when I realized he was asleep at the table. Oh, nothing. Just talking to Mama. He was having a fucking full-on convo with my dead great-grandmother. I was sufficiently creeped out, so I turned around and went back up to my bedroom. Couldn't sleep at all. Anyways, while I was there for the funeral, I couldn't sleep at all, just tossing and turning. It was a couple of days past my 21st birthday and my GF just left me. Kinda heartsick, whatever. Around 4 in the morning when everyone was asleep, I heard footsteps moving up and down the hallway. Just back and forth. The stairs were too loud and steep to have gotten up there without me hearing anything. I was at the end of the hallway right at the landing, but eventually, around 4:30 they just stopped. Dawn rolled around, and the rocking chair over in the corner started going back and forth on its own. Fuck that shit. I get downstairs to find my grandma up, and making breakfast. Ask her if anything weird happens in the house. Oh, you need to ask your Uncle Steve about that room. That was his bedroom. Steve gets in later from Oklahoma, so I ask him. He laughs. Oh, so you met Grandma Whetstone? Apparently, after asking my mom and aunts about it, my great-grandmother walks around the hallways at night checking on everyone. If you've kicked your covers off, she'll even tuck you back in. Apparently, Steve got used to the rocking chair really early in life. The rest of my stay, I slept on the front porch. The couch out there was nicer than dealing with spooky. So here's my last one. This shit's getting too spooky for me, and my roommate's bedroom door is vibrating softly. It's long as fuck, so y'all bear with me. What a lot of people don't know about me is I've got a little engine in me. Comanche specifically. Not registered and don't see a point in it. The res is there if I'm nearby and want tax-free smokes, so I don't really care. For a long time though, I did have a vague interest in the people, history, culture, but until I moved to Iowa that was it. Then, I met John Red Bear. Red Bear was a Lakota Sioux medicine man that I met through ULC. My kinda adopted Blackfoot grandma. I met her while I was going to college up in Des Moines, and she invited me up to Ames where he lives so I could participate in the sweat that winter. Of course I went. It was interesting to say the least, and I was taught a lot of the basic ceremonial aspects, but not how to conduct the sweat itself. That was only for the medicine man to know and those that would go through the training. We made offerings, burned sage around his home and then moved into the little structure to start. 3 hours later, I came out. Sweaty. I had seen things and experienced things that I have, and never will tell a soul of the details. Later that night, Red Bear did mention a few things to me though, and I'll never forget his words. You move with the purpose of a hunter, and your eyes see more than just what is there. Your patience and quiet understanding give you the ability to know where and when to be. I sense you are slow to anger, but are a dangerous man when provoked. The spirit of Igmutaka, the cougar, lives in you. Let it guide you in your walk through life. We smoked the pipe, not supposed to inhale this one, it's mostly just sage and sweet grass, and Red Bear approached me before I left. He asked me to call him uncle, as he would call me his nephew. Told me after spending time with me, he considered me family and would remember my face and name. I see him every once in a while after that. Learned to beat the drum for the Sundance, but mostly, he tells stories and legends. Y'all probably hear about the Wendigos of the Algonquin, Skinwalkers of the Navajo and Comanche. The Sioux have their own legend, Two-Face. Two-Face is a malevolent creature that stalks the unwary. If you make eye contact, you are paralyzed on the spot, and later, it comes to kill and mutilate you. Red Bear had seen the Two-Face only once, and he never wanted to see it again. Luckily, killing this creature was about as simple as killing anything, although they are fast and agile. These stories though, he said, were all interconnected. The tribes of the plains and the mountains, deserts, and the east all knew of creatures similar, but most did not understand. In all of the legends, it was some evil deed that created these beings. Cannibalism. Murder. Both. Either. Didn't matter. I left Iowa after my first 2 years of college and finally got back down to Texas. Red Bear's words stayed with me for a long time and guided me. I embraced what was in me and my spirit guide. Of course, cougars are largely solitary, and when I had the opportunity to go out and be alone away from people, I took it. One such opportunity came about after I had gotten my first gun, my .870, her name is Stacy, and spent some time out around Big Lake, Texas, around the place my dad was living. Big Lake is a hell of a ways out in the middle of nowhere, pretty much at the northern tip of the Chihuahuan Desert. Of course I had to go out and explore. Pick is one I took about 3 miles hike from my dad's place there. Beautiful, isn't it? You're looking at oil country, but that's not all. Rattlesnake, coyote, bobcat, mule deer, jackrabbit, javelina. The place was abundant in all kinds of wildlife. I took many hikes out there with my shotgun. Didn't shoot a lot, just mostly watched and listened. On one of my later trips, I was out there just right about when I turned 24, and I decided to take my brother who was 22, out with me and camp. We loaded down with food and water, I had my shotgun and my brother brought the axe and we started walking. We hit the ridgeline about a half mile from my dad's place and turned back to see the house before we kept going. At that moment, I was a little sad I didn't take my camera with me. The Spanish dagger growing up and around us framed the shot perfectly. At any rate, we kept going. Mostly just being quiet and listening for whatever we could, not really paying attention to anything other than the sounds around us and where we put our feet on the rocky ground. Prickly tarantula were everywhere too. Shit hurts when you get into it. Eventually we came out into a clearing probably about 5 miles out, and saw what we figured remained of a deer blind. Looked inside and didn't see anything except for a few candy wrappers that were probably a few years old. Whatever. It was getting dark and we figured it was time to start getting our asses set up for the night. Carved up a mesquite tree and made a fire. I lit my smoke, heated up some coffee, and we told stories, jokes, bullshitted about stuff and things for a while before we relaxed. There wasn't a moon, but the fire was still giving off enough light for me to see when my brother shook me awake. That feel when you actually fell asleep. That feel when asshole wakes you up. Fuck your soul. JPG. but my shitty mood didn't last long when I saw his face. Goddamn white as a ghost. What in the actual fuck is he? Shushes me and puts a hand over my mouth, but I rip it away and shout at him, "What is going on?" The words barely escape my mouth before I hear movement behind me. Jump up, Stacy in hand, and rack a shot loudly into the chamber. "Whoever the fuck you are, either you'd better own this piece, or be a lawman. If you ain't, I'm gonna start throwing lead unless you come on out into the light, hands up. Hear nothing. See nothing. Get that fire back to where we had it, Ian." He scrambles a few logs together and tosses them onto the embers with some smaller sticks. I put my back to the fire and keep watching everything I can. I swore I could see movement, but whatever it was fast. At one point, I was half tempted to just give up and say it was gone, but the moment I turned around to say it to my brother, the loudest damn scream I had ever heard rose in the night. I spotted movement and shifted, automatically aiming where I figured it would be and firing into the brush. Get to the fucking blind, now. Heard the telltale rocks clacking against each other, getting further away, and I aimed into that general direction and cranked off a couple more, before I turned to follow my brother. The blind was small and simple, but it was pretty good as well. Completely enclosed and had drop-down windows and a door for when it was cold as hell and you wanted to keep the wind out. I got in right after my brother and slammed the door behind me. He closed the windows and lowered the camouflage the owner had bunched up above the glass. We both sat on the floor, back to back. He had his feet braced against the side wall and I had mine braced against the door. We ain't going anywhere until sunrise, god damn it. But we don't have the food, no water. What are we gonna do if it doesn't go anywhere? It can't hide once the sun comes up. Just keep yourself braced and call it good until then. It might have been 15 minutes later, we heard the screaming, somewhere far out into the night, but not a minute later, the rocks were crunching around the blind again. My brother stiffened and I trained my 12 gauge on the door, the barrel pointed directly between where my feet were. That was when the pounding started. Goddamn, all around us. Could even feel the vibrations in the walls. Lucky for us, with the windows being as high up as they were and camoed whatever it was couldn't get a look inside or even reach it to break out the glass. I thought. But it never did. It climbed up on the roof and pounded on it. Reached down and scratched gouges in the glass, but never broke them out. My brother stayed quiet and calm, thank God. I knew I was internally shitting myself, but whenever I felt like I was getting desensitized to it, the goddamn thing whipped out another trick. It started talking. That was when I knew it wasn't an animal. And I knew it couldn't just be a person. Fire back to where we had it. My brother turns his head and whispers, "What?" I shush him. A couple of moments later. To the fucking blind now. It roared through the wall at us. I gritted my teeth and focused on the door, just humming whatever song I could think of. My brother caught on eventually and started doing the same. Thank God. He knew more 70s happy feel-good tunes than I did. A few hours later, the pounding and scratching stopped, but we could still hear the voice. Just outside mocking us. Made me think of the movie Predator, and for a somber moment, I realized that we were the prey. Something happened at sunrise though. I don't know how or what it thought it was doing, but I heard a different sound. Something familiar, that soft growl. No fucking way. I jumped up off the floor and my brother fell backwards. I looked out the front to see something I hadn't expected, and two things Red Bear told me came to mind. Red Bear had told me that those Skinwalker / Two-Face / etc. stories were all of the same creature. And goddamn if he wasn't right. In front of the blind about 20 yards was a man. A coyote pelt hung from his shoulders and his eyes glowed green, but he wasn't looking at me. From around the side of the blind came the biggest goddamn mountain lion I had ever seen. I knew they were around the area, hell, I even passed one on the highway walking the center stripe, but here? No. I kicked my brother and told him to get up and look at this shit. Just then, the thing screamed that blood-chilling sound and bent into a crouch. In about the span of 2 seconds, The cougar tensed, screamed back, and launched itself forward, covering half the distance in seconds and leaping the rest in a single bound. The two-face shook the cat off and hauled ass into the brush, Igmutaka in hot pursuit. My brother's jaw dropped. I grabbed him and dragged him outside. We didn't even turn to look at the blind, we just grabbed what wasn't packed up, threw it into the packs and humped our gear out as fast as we could. The screams were loud, but fading fast, and somehow I knew we wouldn't see it again. It took us about 2 hours to cover the ground back to the house. We were both covered in cactus spines and my brother nearly got tagged by a diamondback, but we made it to the house. My mother met us at the door, scared that we were dead after what they heard the night before. They heard the screams and thought it was a cougar, then they heard my shotgun blasts. She was waiting for us to show up bloody and needing a hospital trip. We didn't say anything to her about it. Just that we got spooked and spent the night awake. My brother and I know though, that cougar saved us from the two-face. I don't go in the woods, in a pasture, in anything unless I've got multiple guns on me at all times, now.